Hello, good morning students. This is our lab, RHCSA lab. I think this is the lab of fourth lab. Today I will introduce the ping with broadcast domain test with the help of ping command. So this is our lab. In this lab I will configure the domain servers, DNS servers, SSH service, VS, FTP service in Linux as well as in 2008 server. I have a NAT cloud, you can see. I have routers to support this topology. So firstly we will get started. If any questions or query, you will feel free to ask me or you can comment me. So I'm going to start. Firstly I'm starting with this router. Oh sorry. This is my 37 45 series router. I'm enabling this router. In this lab, first I have to fetch the IP address from the internet side. So I has to put any query to the internet. This is my interface which goes towards the internet. This is fast Ethernet 1/0. Making this port no shutdown. So my next command is to fetch the IP address from the DHCP service. We have to wait so as to get the fetch the IP addresses. I have to wait. I need the network. Students, please note, I need the network. You must know this. 192.168.122.2 IP address. This is class C IP address. If I do show IP root, it will show me the CIDR also. This is a 24-bit CIDR value, and gateway is a last resort has been set to this IP address. That means for any query, if I want to send to the internet side without DNS service, so I could send. If I need a DNS resolution, for example, it restricts me. That means I haven't configured the domain server IP address. So command is IP domain. I have to exit from this interface. IP domain lookup, making the configuration save. Do ping again, facebook.com. Okay, fine. Firstly I would like to check the broadcast. This is my broadcast IP, whether it's supposed or not. The broadcast, you can see broadcast is not going towards this link. Okay, fine. I would have to stay here. My next, I would like to start my Linux server. This is my Red Hat 664-bit distro. This is not a rebuild distro, right? You must understand, this is not rebuild. I configured the repositories here by my own. I think you know the repositories, huh? You know repositories? In this lab you can use any distro. You can use rebuild distro, Ubuntu distro, Debian distro, BSD, any distro you want. So I log into my root user. So how many interfaces I have? I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 interface I have on my Linux. Firstly, I enable the DHCP server towards other interfaces. So I will start. You have to select share to other computers. This is 5, I think I have configured. Yes. Ethernet 6. Share to other computers. Ethernet 3. Share to other computers. At the end, I will represent class A IP address, 10 IP address. I think I have finished or not. All interfaces I have to configure with the shared to other computers option. It must be enabled. Firstly, I would like to check whether I am it or not. Fine. So I can see by using the command if config, making sure this is first internet, second interface, third interface, fourth, and the last fifth is rest pending, and sixth has been configured, right? So students, you have to make notice the IP addresses. This is the class A having subnet 43. This is again class A having subnet 42, 47, and so on. Fine. Firstly, I will check the SC Linux status. My SC Linux has been enabled and my firewall has rules. I make this screen to the maximize environment. So this is my firewall, and my firewall has what? My firewall has rules. These are the rules. These are known as rules, TCP based rules, TCP UDP based rules. Further I will configure, and further I will detail example to these rules. Every IP tables has forward chain. That means if you want to forward your query, you have to configure in this area. There is also an input chain. Yes, if any packet comes towards your server, so this chain is responsible. If anything you want to goes outside, there is an output chain. I have nothing configured in my output chain, and also I have another chain. I have a net chain. Take a right. Every net chain we have configured post routing by default. When I click to the share to other computers, this rule is configured automatically. So these are my rules. So I configure to the next step. On my router 1, I will fetch the IP address automatically, transit towards router 2, transit towards router 3 with the same configuration. This is my router 1. Enable to the router, configure terminal. So I have to configure fast Ethernet 1 by 0, making this port no shut down so as to achieve the network layer. That is why I'm making this port no shut. IP address DHCP. Hopefully I will get the IP address. Fine, good. I got the IP address. So I start my next router, router 2. This is my router 2. Making fonts bigger. Hit enter. By default on routers interfaces represents also VLAN 1 native VLAN, remember. Again interface 1 by 0. Now shutdown, fetching IP address from DHCP. Okay, fine, I got the IP address. What IP address I have? I have 10.42.45.10 mask having 24 bit. Fine. Now transit to router 3 having console up. Router 3. Router 3 port again, fast Ethernet 1 by 0. I would like to test whether I could pass the barrier to the router or not at the end of the moment. So interface fast Ethernet 1 by 0, IP address fetching from DHCP, making this configuration save. So you will see every router has 10 network, 24 bit, but with the subnetted mask, right? Okay, fine. One by one I have to show the routing table. On my router 4 I have this IP address. On router 1 I have this routing table. Again you can see summarized network subnetted with one subnet 10.42.46 on router 2, the very same configuration. Good. Router 3, do show IP route. So this is very simple. So tough part starts here. Okay. On my router 4 interface FA4 by 0 and FA2 by 0. Next I have to configure on my router 1. This is my router 1. Fine, now I transit fast Ethernet 2 by 0. IP address I want to allot 10.10.1, so be careful. students, you will see it accepted. Again I will show to you, this router accepted 10th subnet. How many network I have? I have two networks, sorry. And what is the main network? Only one. That means I have only one broadcast domain. So back again. This is my router 1. I configured the IP address on port number fastnet 2/0 this. So I move to the router 2. This is my router 2. This is my router 2. I am configuring interface again fast Ethernet 2/0 having the very same IP address. Remember, I am configuring the IP address with same host ID. .0 again it accepts. So move beyond. This is having bit .1 again having host ID bit .1, right? On router 4 I configured or not? Router 4. Router 4's, please see, student, you can see this interface can be connected to this router. This interface can be connected to this interface. This interface can be connected with this. Fine. So interface fast Ethernet on router 4 I am. Yes, I am over 4. This is my port number, I think. Four by 0. Fine. Make sure before. Making no shutdown IP address. I am allowing the IP address 10.10.10.2 255.255.0. Oh, sorry. This is a layer 2 interface. So every layer 2 interface we have to switch on to the port, no switch port, so as to make this port as a layer 3 port, right? IP address, and I think I am configured the line before making this. Please be sure the routing table do show IP route. You can see this is my gateway of last resort, because any query if I want to send via this interface, fine, and I have the IP addresses, fine. So what's next? I have configured the IP address here. What is my next interface? 10.10.1 10.10.1 on router 1. I think ICMP packets, nothing ICMP protocol. Okay, fine. I am enabling the ICMP packet debugging over router 1 and router 2 as well. Undebug all. Next, debug IP ICMP protocol. So on my router 4, this is my router. I would like to ping 10.10.1. I am able to ping or not? I am pinging over 10.10.1. You can see on router 1 I have the IP address 10.10.1. So I'm not reaching here. This is the very same IP address. Show IP interface brief exclude unassigned. You can see 10.10.1 is the same IP address, but I am reaching here. First, note this over router 2, then undebug. Okay, fine. My next step on router 4. So firstly I will move on to the Red Hat 6 server. I'm going to start my service. Red Hat 6 64-bit. This is my second instance. On interface E0, I have to fetch the IP address from Red Hat Linux 6 service server distro 1 having instance 1. I'm enabling. Here I enabled the DHCP service. So with feeling free to fetch the IP address, it is possible. It should be fetch. Must fetch the IP address. It's taking time. IP address from DHCP. IP address from DHCP. You can see in this area I am not fetching the IP address. Over Ethernet E2 router 6, I think I left one configuration, so I have to check one by one. This is a bit confusing. Share to other computers system. This is the virtual. I enabled again. If I left something, I think no. So all my configuration is fine. So why I'm fetching? I am not fetching. I think I fetch. So let's test it. Making terminal if config. So I have the IP address 10.42.44.10. Fine. This is ETH1 interface. Again I share this port. You can see. So how many subnets I have? I think lots of subnets. But how many networks I have? I have only one network in my whole topology. I have only one network. I have more than subnets, and second network is 92. How many networks I have? 2. And how many subnets? More than 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So over here, router 4, on router 4, where is my router? Fast Ethernet 2 by 0. So I shifted fast Ethernet 2 by 0 interface. making this port no shutdown. IP address manually I have to allot 10 dot. Firstly I have to check what is the subnet. E1 10.42.43.1. Fine. 42.43.2 having subnet 255.255.0. .44. So this is the trick, students. Now I will see. Do show IP route. Okay, fine. I have the subnets. Clear? So minimize. One server is left and one router is left. Okay, fine. I will start my next server. 2008 over 2008 I have to design DNS service, private domain, again DHCP service, no routing enabled towards the router. Okay, fine. At the end I will configure services over Linux. We have two networks, 192 and 10th network having subnets. So I will pause. Okay, back again. My server has been started. I make this server bigger. Firstly, I would like to check whether I need a DHCP IP address from DHCP server or not. So yes, on interface 1 I need an IP address. Firstly I would like to check how many interface I have with the help of ncpa.cpl command. One by one I have to check. This is a Apipa IP. I haven't configured the IP status. Here I got the IP address. So this would be my VLAN 1, right? I rename this as VLAN 1. You can see I haven't configured the DHCP. Yes, in the DHCP server you can see 10.42.47.1. This is the DNS and DHCP service as well, IP addresses. So what next to be configured? On E2 I need an IP address, and over router 5 I need a route IP address. Fine. This is I'm starting the router. I think that also has it. Okay, fine. Back again to my topology. I configured the domain and I changed the name xyz.chd. CHD represents Chandigarh. Fine. This is my domain xyz / administrator. So in this domain I configured two interfaces. One interface has been configured by automatically IP address fetched towards the internet. And third interface, again DHCP fetched IP address, and the third interface I have to configure on router 4 1 by 0. So this is my domain. You can see, sorry, go to administrative tools. This is Active Directory users and computers. You can see this is my domain. I have built-in users. So if I want to check my domain testing, ping xyz.chd, my domain is working fine. I got the answer. I am able to go to the outside world. Yes, I can. So minimize it. On router 4, I would create a DHCP pool. Interface fast Ethernet 3 by 0, no shutdown. IP address again 10.10.10.1. remember, I am using the same IP address again and again, overlaps, sorry. So I have to change the subnet mask here. 10.10.20. in this case I will write 20. Exit from the interface. IP DHCP pool name private network. So advertising 10.10.20.2 255. Default router 10.10.10.1, 10.42.43.1, 10.42.44.1, and your main IP address towards 192.168.122.1. This is a kind of hack. Control Shift V. I think I have DNS. Yes, I am DNS. DNS server 8.828 towards public. And the IP address towards Windows 2008. One 192.168.122.1. I think I have configured 192.168.22.1. 22.1. In this case, I would like to use 192.168.122.186. Fine. You can see every interface has the same name. You can see the details. This is my main. This is the second interface. This was my previous internet based. You can see before I changed the name to VLAN 1, this was my first internet phased interface. Now it has been changed, and you can see, oh sorry, I disabled, my bad. You can see the IP address has been changed to from 192 to 10, and the speed you are getting 1 Gbps. This is the power of broadcast. I have nothing to do over this. So I think I have the last interface configuration left pending over router 4 fast Ethernet 2x0. I think configured. Router 4 show IP. Okay, fine. I am advertising router OSPF SSID 1 network 0.0.0. I think I need to have the wildcard mask, must be set it to 55.255. Area must be 0. Do right on router 1. I think router 4. Configure terminal. Router OSPF process ID 1 must be network, should be 0.0255. Area I am using 0. Over to my router 2. Router OSPF 1 network 0.0.0 saving subnet mask area 1, sorry, area 1. Router OSPF 1 network 0.0.0 255 area 0. You can see I have only one agency. Do show IP. I got this network 10.42.46 from fast in 4x0. On router 1 I have that agency. Yes, I have. Show IP route. You can see. On router 2 you can see the packets received mismatched. For the timing, skip this. It need a virtual link. I will not design a virtual link here. I am skipping this problem. Checking to my to show IP route. This is not a Cisco lab. I am configure this. So my next step, final step over E1 Red Hat 6. Where is Red Hat 6? So this is going to my last step. Firstly, I would like to check. I I have configured SSH or not. Yes, I have the SSH program running. If I want to grep the SSH, you can see this is enabled. By default it has been enabled. What IP address I have? I have lots of IP addresses. So at the end I want to show what? Man ping option. This B option. Do not allow ping to change the source. Sorry, this is not B. This is not a broadcast. Small b. Small b. Okay, finally I would like to test 255.255 network unreachable. If I want to send 10.0.0.255 network unreachable, 10.42.0.255, am I able to ping network unreachable? 43.255, I'm having reply. You have to wait. So 10.42.44.255, nothing IPs, no IP address is answering to me. Am I able to send network unreachable? Firstly, I would like to check my routing table here. I have these subnets, but who answered me? Only 10.42.43 subnet answered me. The rest of these one never answered me. So I shift my query. Am I able to ping broadcast? Couldn't. Please check the name and try. You can ping? No. In Windows we have the option nothing. This is the difference between Linux and Windows. In Windows I have no option. If I want to send 10.42.43.255, am I able to ping any machine? Nothing. So I pause the video. After then I will come before you with this software. I install the software. I need a software which is advanced IP scanner. That is why I paused the video. I need to have this software so as to get my broadcast up and running, so I could see. It will take time, not responding. Usual problem of Windows, not responding. So I have to wait. Again I pause the video. I'm going to install this software. I accept the license. preparing to install. Before doing anything, firstly I would like to check my interface IP addresses. I think I finished up. I treated this VLAN 10, VLAN 20, the very first VLAN 1. So one by one I have to check. 192.168, 122, 186. This was my what? This was my internet based interface IP address. So my original interfaced gateway is 192.168.22.1. Remember this point? This is my second network interfaced towards this IP, and the final VLAN 1 IP 10.42.47.10. Okay, now I want to send the broadcast. Okay, fine. So I'm going to start. If I fetch the computers, that means my broadcast is done. If I didn't get any IP address, that means routers restrict my broadcast. So let's try. So I have to add another route. Dot 44 10.42.44.1 hyphen 254 and 192.168 1.1 with 254. So let's try. Leave it by default as it is. You can see I got the IP address 10.42.44.10. I passed away the barrier, broadcast barrier, via this. You can see I haven't got the MAC address because ARP protocol is not routed protocol, is not in the case of routing protocol. Sorry. You can see I'm getting the IP address, but at the end I'm not getting the MAC address. That is not my case. I want to see the barrier. I want to break the barrier. So this was my lab. When I send the query from Linux, ping -b option with the IP address 10.42.255.255, it says me network unreachable. If I see my routing table, I have no UG, I have only G. Why? This is because of these routers. This is the toughest lab. These are the routers, the main culprits. Do show IP root. Now you can enable the debugging. This is my last end. Debug IP ICMP. I want to see the query, ICMP based query. Debug IP ICMP. Where I get the ICMP traffic, that means that router, you can see nothing. If I go over to my server, you can see these are the IP addresses. So finally I break the rule, broadcast. Hope you like my video. Thanks student, thank you very much. Thanks a lot.